So very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining us today. We are here, of course, to celebrate the launch and have a discussion about the book A Bend in Time, writings by children on the COVID-19 pandemic. And we're really overwhelmed by the response that we've got, and so many of you have joined us from all over the country, I think. So, and that would not have been possible if there had not been a pandemic. So it's a bit ironical, but it's lovely that there are so many of you here today. So welcome. And so, as I said, we are about to start the discussion and launch of A Bend in Time. And firstly, I would like to welcome all our writers here today. There are 12 writers in this book because this book is a collection of 12 pieces by children on what they think about the pandemic and life during the pandemic. The brief that they were given was to write about their response to what was happening around them. And we got a diverse range of writings once these children gave in their pieces. And the stories in this book, there are stories in this book which are humorous, which are sad. There are essays which are written from the viewpoint of history and science. There are deeply personal essays on what people and the writers were feeling at that point in time. And there is also poetry, which of course says what we have all been thinking, like all good poetry, which is when will all this be over, and or will this ever be over, or will our lives forever be masked? So so I really want to thank all our writers here for primarily for being such good human beings, because it is from there that these beautiful writings come. All of you took the brief and you ran with it, and you gave us a diverse range of pieces. But when we put them together in this book, we found that we got a beautiful whole. And the book gives us lots of hope and lots of food of thought for thought. So thank you for that. And thank you for being, for writing, for thinking. And I do hope that you keep writing in the future also. I'm also delighted that the author of the introduction, Bijal Vachharajani, is here with us today.
Yeah.
She is an award-winning writer and an editor with a very busy work schedule. But when we asked her to write the introduction, she gave it to us in about 2 days' time. So thank you, Bijal. And thanks to your introduction, we also got the title of the book, A Bend in Time, because you wrote so beautifully about what it means in this weird, strange feeling of time passing by in these days. So thank you for joining us and for being such a friend of both Talking Cub and Cosy Nook Library. I would also like to welcome and thank Mridula Koshi and Timira Gupta today. It is thanks to them that we have got some wonderful pieces for the book. Mridula, the work that you and the community library project people do is incredible. And you turn children into readers, and from readers they become writers and thinkers, which is what we see in this book today. So thank you for that. And Timira, thank you for being part of it, for bringing in such wonderful voices into the book through Akshara High School, which is obviously a really nurturing and beautiful space, because I see that in the affection with which the children talk about you and in the diversity of their thoughts. So thank you for that. And finally, I would like to thank the librarians of Cosy Nook Library, Anita Murthy, who is handling the tech today, as usual, quietly and efficiently, and Radhika Sathe, who is the moderator today. Radhika is a special ed teacher who has been teaching for many, many years, and she is also a librarian and a book evangelist who has inspired many, many children to pick up various kinds of books because, well, everyone loves Radhika Auntie. So thank you, Radhika, for doing this. And at the end, we will try and take a few questions. So over to you, Radhika.
All right. Thank you so much. This is such an honor for Cosy Nook Library. And I would like to welcome all our authors and our guests. I think we have guests joining us from all over India. And so this is such an amazing thing. And Cosy Nook, I would just, since I am a Cosy Nook librarian, we are a children's library in Bangalore. We have two branches now, and with a lot of very, very enthusiastic and committed readers and almost 6,000 books. I think we are the happiest place in Bangalore. So that's about us. Our 12 authors. I mean, when I first read the book, I was so blown away by not only their writing, but how deep their thinking was. And I don't think I had one such deep thought when I was their age. I mean, it's quite remarkable. So, and the other thing about this book that is so incredible is that I know people who have bought Kindle editions of this book in Canada, and who have bought this book in the San Francisco Bay Area, and somebody in UK that I know, and they said their children were feeling exactly what are these 12 authors have written about. So it isn't just a global pandemic, it's actually the feelings are pretty global and universal. So it's remarkable how our these 12 authors have managed to um, express what literally the world is thinking. So it's quite amazing. The book is just super. um, but apart from these 12 authors that we will get to meet and we will get to chat with and find out more about them, we also have with us another author, and a very successful and award-winning author, a very popular author. Some of her books include So You Want to Know About the Environment, A Cloud Called Bura, which is brilliant, and also her latest book that she's co-written, which is 10 Indian champions who are fighting to save the planet. And she's also an editor with Pratham Books, a climate warrior and a climate warrior. She's an animal lover. She's a potterhead. She's a master baker, and just a favorite person, a favorite human being. So we give you Bijal Vachharajani. I can't hear people clapping right now, but I'm sure they are. So welcome, Bijal. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much. We are so happy to have you here. And typically when I see introduction at the beginning of a book, I either skim over it or I skip it. Truly. But because it was you, I read it, and I'm so glad that I did, because it's so fantastic. And it's so you, actually. So, so, would you mind? Oh, and this I'm indulging myself just because it is so good. Would you mind reading a little bit from your introduction that you've written?
Sure. Firstly, thank you so much, Radhika, for that really lovely introduction from the executive producer. Uh, Very quickly, I wanted to tell you that when Sudeshna asked me to write this forward, I was just like, who, me? And she was like, yes, you. And I was like, couldn't be. So this went on for a while. And then I settled down to read the stories by everyone here. And I couldn't help but feel thrilled that I was getting to introduce these stories because, you know, all 12 stories, they reflect so many thoughts, so many questions, and so many narratives, And honestly, I'm going to read, as Radhika suggested, I'm going to read from a little bit from what I wrote. The pandemic has changed all of us indelibly, irreversibly. Life seems to be marked now in these three phases, BC, that's before COVID, DC, that's during COVID, and then there's hopefully going to be an AC, which is after COVID. And I think one of the things that when I read all of your stories, I realized that science needs to be celebrated, nature must be respected. Because, during this lockdown, it was almost like the planet took a pause, a deep breath as humans went into lockdown. And this for me was something that I had never thought would happen, because right now we are looking at a time when human induced climate change impact is most visible around the world. But honestly, hope floats, and I think we've all seen that superheroes exist, and they actually are people around us. They're healthcare professionals, they're scientists, they're essential service providers, relief workers, animal caregivers. It's a long list, and I couldn't help but think, and I was telling this to Sudeshna, that if we were to put all the Marvel, DC universe superheroes in one line, our real life superheroes the line will be much, much longer.
Absolutely.
So I think your stories made me realize that you all feel very strongly that it's now up to us, that when it becomes DC, when it becomes AC, that is after COVID, um, it's up to us to figure out if we want to go back to business as usual by consuming the way we did before the pandemic. Rampant unchecked development, ringing a death knell to clean air and water. I know some of you are from Delhi and know how important that is. Mowing down forest homes of animals, buying mindlessly and aimlessly, and widening the chasms of inequalities. And endlessly running a human race, because I thought rat race is now passé. It's actually a human race, let's face it. So your stories remind me that there's a better future, and that hope floats, and it's because of all of you. Because in this book, you all insisted for a better future with your stories of courage, of humanity, of love, and of this need for a better world. Honestly, if someone was to bury a time capsule right now, Talking Cub, I'd say send them a copy of Bend in Time, because this is one book that needs to be unearthed many years later, so that everybody knows how bright and cool and compassionate today's children are. So thank you.
Oh, that's such a great idea, Bijal. Truly, I mean, that is what literally striking about this book, how smart these kids are, and how kind and compassionate. But hey, like you said, Sudeshna said, Bend in Time, the title comes from what you've written. So you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because I think one of the best things about the book is that Bend in Time.
Honestly, there were so many thoughts when the lockdown started. I was firstly very nervous. My parents were in Bombay, my other family somewhere else, and I'm here all alone. And then I realized that I had this superpower, and it was bending time. Okay, and then I found out that the other superheroes who can actually bend time as well, but mine's way better, because one, I didn't need to get bitten by a radioactive dust mite, or travel to another planet, or wait for outpost. It happened right here. Um, and so it's June 2020, and I've been in the lockdown alongside many of you in my home. And yes, bending time has become my superpower. There are days when times move faster than a cheetah. Ha, you expected a superhero reference, didn't you? Animals are the coolest superheroes. Speeding from 1 hour to suddenly a whole week gone by. I don't know if you all felt this. Like, there was sometimes that whole week's gone, and then on other days or seconds, it's like squelchy and stretchy. I don't know if anyone, if you walk through a mangrove swamp, but if you have, you'll know that you can't pick up your feet also. It's that squelchy. So that was what it was feeling like this welding of the past, the present, and future, and was this constant present continuous. And honestly, it was tense.
See, that's why I read your introduction. Thank you so much, Bijal. This is. I mean, you are a great friend of Cosy Nook, and you are an incredible author, and this is an honor. So thank you. Really, this is super. From one author, we'll go to the other 12 now. And like we said, we'll just follow the sequence that is in the book. Okay, so the first piece in the book, and it's such a cute way to start the book, is Tisha. And I really loved reading this story. Also because she talks about two of my favorite things, which is buttery parathas and banana milkshake. So 2 things I can't have, but 2 things I love. And so Tisha, you wanted to read a little bit. You want to read a little bit from your piece. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay, so my
Actually,
story.
hold on, but tell me, do you like the parathas and the banana milkshake really in real life?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay.
okay.
Read to us.
So my story's name is Dreams in an Empty Pot of Tea by me. Arey Anna beta, wake up! It's time to get ready for school, said Ma, knocking on my door. Ma, you know there is no school in these COVID times, I mumbled as I quickly drifted off to sleep again. Miss Anaya, you come out right now or I'll come in with a handful of freezing ice cubes, Ma thundered as she walked off towards the kitchen to make breakfast. Dad was already there at the table with Anu, reading the Daily Times. 1,000 people dead in one day, Dad said as he looked at the newspaper for what was the 10th time. This COVID is getting nastier every day, Dad said again, sighing. Mark glared at Dad with an enough with this death news look, and Dad shut up. Anu cleared her throat by gulping down some milkshake and started talking about how she had dreamt the previous night of going to an ancient planet and arresting bad guys there for stealing magical grass seeds from Earth. As that irritant cormorant, aka my sister, finished recounting her dream, I was about to tell her that I had had a similar dream 6 days back when I suddenly stopped and realized something. I hadn't dreamt for 6 days. Strange. So, this is the story of Anaya where she stops dreaming, and it's like about her journey through the lockdown where she's just suffering from being stuck inside, and she's like really upset why school is shut down, and it's just the normal phase for her.
So, how close to your own life is this story?
Everything.
Because there were like such specific details in the book, in the story. Everything.
Yes.
What did you say? Is it close to your real life? It is okay. So why were you so worried that you were not dreaming? Why was it so difficult? I mean, why was it so important for you to dream?
Because then dreams were like something like like how when we are so stressed we need something to like calm ourselves down, so it was like that.
Ah,
And during this lockdown, first of all, my school had shut down, and then on top of
right.
that I was stuck at home, so I needed my dreams.
Ah, what a lovely cause. And you obviously have done a lot of research because you've written about Freudian and Jungian and all sorts of things.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. So are you dreaming now? Have you started dreaming again?
Oh
Because you
yes,
leave
I
the
am.
book. You are okay. I'm glad to hear that. Tisha, thank you. I really enjoyed, and I think this is such a nice beginning to the book to start with your stories. I like it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Our next author is Shiv, and Shiv, I love history, and I found your piece so well researched and so well written. It was how long did you have to research for this piece? How long did you research?
I think because it took me a few weeks to write it, mostly because I didn't really know what to write.
Okay,
Because I'll explain. Because I was nervous. I wasn't sure what exactly I should write on this topic.
okay. But the research was all there because it's so well researched. So, like, did you use a lot of different avenues to research, or what did you use? Archives? What was it?
I used different sites, like I used Encyclopedia Britannia and some of these.
So, have you prepared? Do you have a piece that you would like to read to us?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, read to us then, please.
So, so my piece is mostly about lockdowns, similar to what happened in Spain.
Right.
So it's about lockdowns in history and examples of these. So I've included
Right.
some leading examples such as the Antoine Plague in ancient Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And one very interesting one which struck me was the Great Plague of Marseilles in 1720 in France. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting, but I won't say more about it. Maybe as maybe a spoiler to people who haven't read the book. But these
Okay.
are, and I myself didn't know about these like before I started researching. So
Okay.
one thing I noticed was that they affected history after these plagues or these diseases. That
Right.
life after it was very different for people. One thing I noticed is like life after it was very different for all the people who lived. Like for example, in Rome, like they said that how it was never equal to what it was before. Then so things might have been different or for the better because after the Great Plague of Marseilles, for example, uh,
Hmm.
life of the people actually got better in some ways because they learned new ways of quarantine and how to stop.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
so the idea for the topic actually came from an article that written for the Hindustan Times a few weeks ago
Okay.
before I started writing this about historical situations similar to COVID-19. It
Okay.
was actually suggested by my father, and I only considered it because this was the height of lockdown. I really didn't have anything else to do.
Okay.
I just thought that I'd write a bit of it and then I'd just forget about it. I never really thought I'd make it into a newspaper or even a book. So that was, I got,
But we are glad you considered it because you're obviously good at this.
it took me
You
quite
really
some
are.
time to write it, as I said, a few weeks.
Okay.
One reason which I wasn't sure on how to write it was because I didn't want to repeat anything which I'd said in the article.
Okay.
I
So
really,
this was all new research?
yes, it was most
Yeah.
research. So I hope
Okay.
you like reading it, and it came pretty good according to me. It came out pretty good.
Yeah. No, because I love history and I found your piece to be extremely fascinating. And so tell me, do you think post all of this, how do you think our world will change now? Since you said after every big disease or pandemic, the world changed and life changed. How do you think this will change?
A few months ago, I was seeing these videos about how like animals are coming back in big cities, and animals and plants which haven't been growing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Plants are growing. So I remember seeing this thing that like geese were in like one of the streets of Singapore.
Yeah.
I remember seeing news like that. So I think it'll probably change for the better.
Okay. Okay, I am as hopeful as you are. So I hope you keep writing because I think you're really good. I really enjoyed your piece. So thank you, Shiv. And next is Miss Shivani. Shivani, your piece just blew my mind. Yeah, it was so. I felt like I was in a community. Your details, the way you made me feel by the time I came to the end of your piece, I was so worried for that family. Uh, that is great writing when you can get a reader to get so involved. So, would you like to read a little bit from your piece? And
हाँ
you can read in Hindi also if you want.
हाँ मैं बता दूं थोड़ा सा बताना चाहूंगी
हाँ प्लीज बताइए
अ,
आप प्लीज बताइए
हाँ तो जो स्टोरी मैंने लिखी है उसका नाम है अ प्रेयर इस बुक के अंदर पर ओरिजिनली मैंने हिंदी में लिखी है
जी
जिसका टाइटल है दुआ
अच्छा
हाँ तो मुझे लिखना काफी पसंद है
अच्छा
मैं हम टीसीएलपी लाइब्रेरी में हमारी काफी वर्कशॉप्स होती थी
अच्छा
राइटिंग वर्कशॉप्स तो मुझे उनसे पार्टिसिपेट करके पता चला कि हाँ मुझे काफी इंटरेस्ट है लिखने में तो मैम
इंटरेस्टेड
ने जब बताया
आप अच्छा भी लिखते हो
थैंक यू
हाँ
हाँ तो मैम ने जब मुझे बताया तो मैं काफी एक्साइटेड थी कि हाँ मैं कुछ लिखूंगी और वो पब्लिश भी होगा हाँ तो इसलिए मैं काफी एक्साइटेड थी और पर बस इसलिए नहीं कि लिखने को मिलेगा पर मैं उस टाइम ज्यादा खुश हुई इस बारे में कि मुझे लिखने को मिला क्योंकि वो टाइम ऐसा था लॉकडाउन में बस कुछ करने को था ही नहीं मतलब दिमाग सो बंद था बिल्कुल तो वो
जी
चलाने का मौका मिला तो
अच्छा
उसमें काफी मजा आया वो स्ट्रेस गायब हो गया थोड़ा लिखने से
अच्छा
हाँ
बहुत सुंदर लिखा आपने आपने बहुत ही ज्यादा मुझे बहुत पसंद आया
थैंक यू हाँ, तो मेरी कहानी एक मुस्लिम गर्ल के बारे में है, सकीना के बारे में, जिसका नाम सकीना है। वैसे तो वो मुझसे थोड़ी सी मिलती है, जैसे उससे मैथ से डर लगता है, मुझे भी बहुत डर लगता है। बट मैंने ऐसा सोचा नहीं था कि ऐसा, मैंने सोचा था बस मेरा पेपर हो जाए जल्दी जल्दी। बट
हाँ,
सकीना ने थोड़ा अलग सोचा।
अलग सोचा, हाँ।
हाँ, वैसे मैंने सोचा था कि मैं मुस्लिम लड़की लूंगी, क्योंकि मैंने अपनी जो स्टोरी लिखी है वो उस टाइम जो चल रहा था, आसपास जो जो चल रहा था, मैं उससे मैं जोड़ रही थी सब कुछ। जैसे जो भी मेरी स्टोरी में है वो सब कुछ मेरे आसपास से रिलेट करता है।
अच्छा।
तो उस टाइम मैंने मुस्लिम्स का लिया, क्योंकि उस टाइम न्यूज में इतना चल रहा था कि मुस्लिम कोरोना वायरस को फैला रहे हैं, तो मैं उस डायरेक्शन में जाना चाहती थी। बट मैंने फिर बाद में नहीं करा वो, मैंने थोड़ा
अच्छा।
अलग डायरेक्शन लिया।
अच्छा,
हाँ, तो मैं पढ़ना चाहती हूँ, अब
जी,
थोड़ा सा मैं पढ़ के बताती
पढ़िए पढ़िए।
हूँ। नमाज का वक्त हो चुका है। सकीना नमाज पढ़ने लगती है। आंखों में आंसू और मन में कई उलझने, और बस एक ही दुआ कि अब्दुल अब्बू ठीक हो जाए। सकीना नमाज पढ़ रही है, पढ़कर उठी ही थी कि सामने अम्मी अकेले खड़ी हैं। सकीना को देखते ही वो सकीना को देखते ही वो उसे अलग गले लगा लेती है। सकीना को इस हालत से पता चल चुका है कि अब्बू नहीं रहे। वो भी अपने आप को रोक ना पाई, और वह भी फूट फूट के रोने लगी और बोलने लगी, कितने दिल से मैंने अब्बू के ठीक होने की दुआ मांगी थी, जो कबूल ना हुई, और एक नादानी में मांगी हुई दुआ हकीकत बन गई। अम्मी के हाथ में एक कागज पकड़ा हुआ था। सकीना उसे गीली आंखों से देखती है। वह हॉस्पिटल का कागज है। उस पर अब्बू का नाम लिखा है। साथ साथ कुछ और शब्द लिखे हैं, जिसे पढ़कर सकीना के टूटे हुए दिल के और टुकड़े हो जाते हैं। वो शब्द है कोरोना पॉजिटिव।
वाह, बाप रे, अभी आप पढ़ रहे हो तब भी रोने जैसा हो रहा है, क्योंकि इतना अच्छे से लिखा है आपने, बाप रे। तो अच्छा, आप ये बताइए कि जो कि आप बोल रहे हैं कि आपने जो देखा उसके बारे में आपने लिखा, तो आपको लगता है कि चीजें बदल रही है अभी थोड़ी बहुत अच्छे के लिए, बदल गई है?
हाँ, मुझे
हाँ,
लगता है काफी लोग एक दूसरे का भी साथ दे रहे हैं।
हाँ, वो तो है। तो आप ये उम्मीद करते हैं कि चीजें और अच्छी होगी, और जो आपने लिखा है, तो आपको क्या लगता है?
हाँ, मुझे अभी जैसा चल रहा है, मुझे लगता है कि हाँ सब ठीक हो जाएगा, और बस गरीब होने से ही नहीं, पर सबको फैसिलिटी मिलेगी हर चीज की। हाँ, तो
वेरी
मैंने
गुड।
जब ये पढ़ा एज अ रीडर जब मैंने पढ़ा, ये नहीं सोचा कि मैंने कहानी लिखी है, पर मैंने खुद से बस एज अ रीडर पढ़ा, तो मुझे लगा कि शायद सकीना जो सोच रही है कि मतलब उसकी गलती है, पर मुझे लगा ये तो बस होना ही था। हाँ, तो उसकी गलती नहीं। एज अ रीडर मेरे को जो सकीना के बारे में आया।
यस, उसकी तो है ही नहीं गलती है बेचारी।
हाँ हाँ।
या, तो आप क्या क्या कैसे चीजें क्या लिखना आपको अच्छा लगता है, कि कहानियां, या आप एसेज लिखना पसंद करती है, या क्या अच्छा लगता है आपको?
मैं कहानियां लिखना पसंद करती हूँ।
अच्छा, अच्छा, और आपको पढ़ने में क्या अच्छा लगता है?
पढ़ने में भी कहानियां और पोएम्स अच्छी लगती हैं।
अरे वाह, आई विश आई कैन मीट यू वन डे। बहुत ही प्यारी हो आप, थैंक यू फॉर दिस इज इट सच अ ब्यूटीफुल स्टोरी, थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू। थैंक
बाय
यू।
बाय शिवानी, थैंक यू। um
थैंक
and now our little Mira from Missouri. Do you know, Mira, you are I'm sure one of the youngest published authors. You're only 9 years old now. Yeah. So had you ever thought that at 9 you will be published? I am 49 and I'm still not published. Yeah. This is so this is so awesome. Do you want to read a little bit from your book, Mira?
Exactly perfect timing because I just came to Missouri a week ago for like a
Okay.
short trip. Should I read a paragraph from the
Yeah,
start of it?
you decide whatever you would like to read. You read. You could even read about the dogs. You could read about the when you are coming back into Noida. You can read that part. Whatever you want to read.
I'm going to read. One of the normal days there, we were told to watch the news and got to know there was going to be a lockdown in the country. I started to cry because I was missing my parents and was scared. I spoke to them on the phone and felt much better, and went outside and played with the dogs and felt even better. Around the afternoon, we would go for short walks to the pine forest, machans, ridges, and ravines. We took snacks with us on our return. The dogs would run out, barking, jumping, while we would rush inside trying to put the pine cones down. It's unbelievable how many pine cones we could collect in just a few days. Many times during my visit, monkeys used to come and I wondered why. The marketplace was very close. We often used to run across to the market. Often Landy, the youngest dog, would come with us. Yeah, so I was there, and so the part I loved about my trip most was the dogs. I had a very special bonding with all five of the dogs there.
5 dogs. My goodness. Wow. And are they like big, huge dogs, breeds or indies? What are they?
They're Bhutia dogs. They're from the mountains,
Mhm.
and I mean they all are very friendly. The dog I was scared of most when I came, I have a special bonding with him only after on my trip. So it
So
was
and what is that dog's name?
Landy.
Landy. Oh, okay. So and you also like to read a lot, Mira? Do you yeah? What kind of books do you like to read?
Thriller, mystery, legend, food.
Oh, that sounds like almost an entire library. Everything. That's really nice, and I really liked reading your story also because you've shown the police in such a nice light and how hard they work and how hard they are working. So I really liked your story. Thank you so much, Mira, and have a great time in Missouri. And I've never been there, so I hope one day I get to see. I've heard it's the most beautiful place. So have a good rest of your vacation there. Bye. Thank you. But stay on, okay? Don't sign out or anything. Next author is Lavanya, and my God, Lavanya, your language, it's like it's so lyrical. It is so beautiful, and I just wanted to ask you: does it come from the theater that you do, or is it the sort of reading you do, or what is it? How do you write such beautiful language?
I don't know. I mean, I've always been a reader, so I guess that's probably it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like to speak too well of the way I write because I don't think I'm that. Um, I genuinely don't think I'm that good yet.
But I think that's a prerequisite of being a good author. You don't like your work. So I think you're on the right track.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, so would you like to read a little bit and then we can maybe chat some more?
Yeah,
Would you
sure.
like to read?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give an introduction first
Yes, sure.
because it might seem. Yeah, so my piece is called Night Write, and it's sort of like a diary entry where I'm essentially trying to write and trying to overcome the writer's block I've had for a very long time. So I write 3 short, like prose pieces, and I follow each one with a sort of reflection. And I use the reflections to basically talk about all kinds of things from my life and my problems and my writing to the pandemic and where those things intersect. Yeah, so the excerpt I'm going to read is from the end of my story, where I basically arrive at the conclusions of my writing stint.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a twinkling sliver of bright side to the mayhem. Perhaps this fiendish capitalist monstrosity of a world would be put in its place. Perhaps the crisis would teach its filthy pride a clean lesson. With no life and death exams for which to prepare and no Asphyxiating cubicles in which to shrivel up and wane, the brats would come to see they are nothing more than their institutions, that they know not what to do with themselves in a world with nowhere to scurry off, and that is far from the way things ought to be. Pablo Neruda wanted retrospection, did he not? Perhaps this was the time to do it. Then I began to miss it all, and the bright side disintegrated. It sounded lovely in phrases. In reality, the sabbatical was eclipsed by the plaintive truth. We were in hiding to cling on to dear life with nothing at all to live for. Not like the capitalist pigs, more like artists battling lulls. Nothing to live for, and certainly nothing to write for. How am I to teach me to live again when I know not if the world will? And how am I to write when everything I love is in mortal peril? The quandary of the world is not unlike my own, both in shambles with no sign of the first mirage. Shall the former remain in the present predicament for evermore? Most likely not. The worst is yet to come, I am certain, but so is a better morn in due course. I shall simply have to believe that such is the case for me. I scrutinize the prose once again and sigh. Perhaps I shall like it one day. I must savor this thought until then. Until the better morn, the first mirage, this thought and many. You can write well, you see, if you think well, and in the fullness of time I shall reclaim my prowess at them both.
Oh, lovely. And I think you have reclaimed it. It's beautiful. Absolutely lovely. So, you have the travel bug, I can tell from your writing. And when all of this is over, what would be the first place you would like to visit?
Um,
Is is there a
we've already kind of defied lockdown, and I'm speaking to you from Goa,
yeah?
is which is sort of a second home to us. So the first trip came sooner than I expected, and I'm
Yeah.
thankful for that. But this is still not travel to me. It's just like going.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
Where in the world would Lavanya be once the pandemic is a memory?
realistically, or like
No, I mean, why be realistic? Come on. You can wish.
okay. I would really like to go back to France, I think.
And what part of France? Is there a particular
Um, the South.
nice? Well, I hope you can do it for all of our sakes. So I hope you can do it, which will just mean the pandemic is over and we can all travel. So
Yeah.
this was lovely, Lavanya. Thank you so much, and I hope you keep writing because you've reclaimed it in the furnace of all of that. So lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Shreya Iyer. Okay, so Shreya, I so loved your piece because I am still in denial about the Kindle. I still prefer reading from a real book. So when I read your piece, I was like, huh, she's like me, but then she's overcome and she's sort of,
I hate to disappoint you, but I have now
yeah.
transitioned to the Kindle. It
Yeah.
has happened. The arc is complete.
So, so, so what are you reading right now?
Currently, let's see. I'm reading Broca's Brain by Carl Sagan. Feynman's Lectures in Physics. I just finished The Tattooist of Auschwitz. And I'm reading The Great Influenza. I forget who it's by. But yeah, I'm reading that too.
So like just halka fulka, simple stuff, na?
I mean, no big deal.
Would you like to read a little bit? Because
Yeah,
I was like giggling to myself while reading your piece because I first related to it and then I was like, no. So yeah. So
all right. So for some context,
Yeah.
I've written an essay. So I'm a reader. I consider myself a reader. And for context, I've written about how I learned to start reading digitally. So I've gone from being, I swear by paperback books to reading digitally primarily. So, and how the pandemic facilitated that process to some degree. But I will say this: learning how to read digitally has proved to be an indispensable skill. It was once that the bulk of human knowledge lived in books. Now, the bulk of books live on the internet. And the internet houses a whole lot more of human knowledge than books. It's absolutely crucial that people learn how to read digitally because the internet is the greatest platform to access people's thoughts and ideas. A lot of what's there to know is text, floating out there in the form of websites, PDFs, and ebooks. All you need to do is search for it. To interact with that effectively can change the way you think and work forever.
Ah, lovely. Um, so do you think, Shreya, it takes a different part of the brain or a different brain function to read and comprehend written, like print and digital reading? Because these days a lot of people are talking about that. You think it's true? Like from I'm not talking about
That's an
like
interesting question because,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so definitely before the transition had happened, I would have definitely said that it's a two worlds and reading on a piece of paper is extremely different from reading digitally. But what my experience sort of showed me is it's pretty much the same in a way. When you're reading on paper, you'll have the repetitive motions of turning the pages. You'll have to balance the weight of the book. You'll have to place yourself in the book based on where you are in terms of
Mm-hmm.
pages. So there's a certain, you sort of train yourself to do that. And I think all you really have to do is train yourself similarly to read digitally as well, right? So initially I started off on a laptop and I download books and read it just on the laptop. And even for that, like just the act of clicking to go to the next page was so counterintuitive to me that it instantly snapped me out of like any story that I would read. So even getting used to that was a matter of training myself. And as someone that has read so much offline or non-digitally, it
Yeah.
took a bit of work. But I think it was really worth it in the end. And now I have a Kindle. So now
So now,
I had to
now you're a
learn how to
convert.
tap to move pages, which is again its own ballgame. But yeah, it happened.
It happened and you're happier. So one of the Cosy Nook librarians has a question for you. Will you be open to audiobooks also in the future or now, if things like Audible, etc.? Would you be open to that?
Not yet. I have not gone that far. I mean, it just seems too different from actually reading. I mean, reading is at least text to me right now. Maybe the
Yeah.
transition will happen. We don't know. This itself,
Yeah.
moving from offline to online, was its own journey. But for now, no. I think
You
Audible is still a reach.
Okay, as long as you're reading, Shreya, and you're obviously a monster reader. So, yeah, yeah. So, thank you for joining us. I know you're in the middle of your 12th studies and all of that, but thank you. And
Thank you, Auntie.
I know that yeah, and I hope you keep writing also because you're obviously a super writer. So, keep writing. Okay, thank you. Our next author or poet, I think he's the only poet in the book, is Omkar. And is Omkar? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So Omkar, yours is the only poem verse in the book. So do you like writing and reading poetry, generally speaking?
yeah, I think more than writing prose. I think I'm not sure.
So you like writing poetry more? You're not sure.
I
You
think it
like writing.
depends on what I'm writing, maybe. I think some things are better in poetry and some are better in prose.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So since yours is a poem, can you read the whole
Sure.
poem to us,
Yeah.
please?
Swimming against the tide, navigating a new normal, the greatest fear being, is a light at the end of the tunnel. A fierce storm is raging, making the sky a sullen grey. Will the clouds ever part for a better sun, or will our lives be forever masked? People constrained in their four own walls, souls trapped in their own head, as our thoughts run uncharted and scared, like choppy waters in the nighttime sea. We sit and stare and sit, and look outward for hope and love, while the utopia we dream of has been inside us all along.
Lovely. So I have a question for you, which is your last few lines of the poem talk of hope and looking inward to find that hope and love. So talk about that. Like, what do you where did those lines come from?
I think it's about hope being strongest during moments of struggle and distress.
Hmm.
Um, and we need to promise ourselves that what's happening outside in the world, the dialogue outside can't be the dialogue inside our heads. We can't represent the chaos outside in the chaos inside our
Hmm.
heads. Um, and we need to understand that our sources of joy don't need to be what they always were: going out, traveling, or reading physical books like Shreya talked about. But we can form new sources of joy and form new sources of opportunity, promise, and hope. And that these times are actually going to be the ones we feel nostalgic about years later, because these are the times we actually did have a lot of fun and good times. And we need to make sure that those good times aren't reflective of what's happening in the world. And there's a lot good happening in the world right now as well. So that
Hmm.
too, yeah.
Lovely, beautiful. Thank you, Omkar, and keep writing. I hope you continue to write. Our next author, and I'm in love with this piece, is Sophia. And hi, Sophia. So,
Hi.
first, I have to tell you, your language is so beautiful. It was like, I don't know, like you wrote about kingdoms and the North Star, and there was a little bit of Arabian Nights like feeling. At the same time, it was very lyrical and it was just beautiful. I was actually telling Sudeshna just this morning that the more I read your piece, the more I am loving it. It's so beautiful, and wow, you're so wise. So, do you want to read a little bit from your piece? Would you like to read to us?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
I will read and then, okay? Yeah.
Huh?
And I will read and then, if it's all
Yeah,
right.
yeah, we can do that. Yeah, yeah.
So, and first also, I would say thanks to everyone who worked on this book, and it's such a beautiful book. And I'm thankful to be a part in it, and also to experience such a great opportunity with all you guys. It's such a big day. So, my name is Sufia Kakar. I was born in Afghanistan in 2000, and I'm 19 years old today. And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay. So I never thought that I would try, especially in this year. And it's such an important thing for me. And I hope everyone who reads this book is also enjoy it.
Yeah.
So about my article, North Star, which got published in this book, Abandoned Time. The way I write this article is that I try to present my thoughts in different ways, not just in one way.
Okay.
Yeah, so I started the article with describing a dream that all the things that happened around us in that time, like presented like a dream that's like a broken kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
which was hidden behind the veil of that dream. So yeah, and the next thing that in the next part I describe about the time, the way the things were before the pandemic and after it, and the memories that will be remembered after this for a long time. Uh, I wanted to compare a past event which happened a long time ago with the things that was happening like now and the start of the lockdown. And when I was at school and when I was 12 years old, I wrote about the First World War,
Mm-hmm.
and I never wanted to believe it like it was real. I just always wanted pandemic happened and this lockdown. It just was not fairy tale because the things which were happening in this year during about the time, the way we felt in the first months of pandemic, the way you felt that time was like stopped, like abandoned time.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the name of the book. So and also the way that the winds and night could not even took the pain from the problem like our storm and the sea. It's true that everything which happening right now is difficult to accept, and also seems hard. We will see the bright side, the cure for those lost.
Sophia, your writing, so much of it is about hope and light, and I think that is the most absolutely heart touching. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Do you have something that you would like to read to us? Have you picked out a bit from your piece to read to us?
Yeah, sometimes it seems hard to reach. Sometimes it seems hard to see. Sometimes, but it's not hard to reach. It's not hard to see, and we can see things. So that's
No, I think it's the network is an issue. But would you allow me to read just a few lines from your piece, which I loved so much that I marked and I read them over and over again? Can I read? Is it okay if I read those since your network is so uneven? Is it okay? Okay, so Sophia writes, to me, stars are the beautiful part of the sky. Rain is the beautiful part of clouds. Problems are the eternal part of our lives. Pain is the inevitable outcome of harm, and the end of darkness must be light. And I just loved what you've written and how you've written, Sophia. Thank you so much. I hope you keep writing because you're just fantastic. Lovely. Um, I just have a quick message for all the guests who are here. If you have questions for our authors, please write them in the chat so that we can. At the end, I'm sure we'll make time for some Q&A and address some of those questions. So, any question, whether it's specifically for an author or a general question for the panel, please type it in the chat box, and then we will get to them at the end. So go ahead and do that, please. So Sophia, thank you. And our next author is Garima. And hi, Garima.
Hi all of you.
We are all. Are you having a good time, Garima?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I'm having a good time.
So, Garima, your story is very gripping, and it, it talks about the emotional toll that this pandemic has had on people. And you read like 1,000 people here and 100,000 there, but it's that one person in a family that makes a difference, and you've written about that very beautifully, and you've touched on topics that are mental health, suicide, lot of pretty grown-up stuff. So tell us about your story, and then if you'd like to read a little bit from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
First of all, hi all of you, the audiences. How you guys doing? No need to unmute yourself and speak. I just hope you're doing good, even in the midst of this pandemic, which of course is now being too much. And it's okay, no need to worry too much about things. But it's okay. You see, good things happen even in the worst of your nightmares too. And this wonderful book is a good thing that I'm talking about right now. Twist and Turns, my story, written by me, is a little dark, but the topic with which it is dealing is super important. Okay, I mean, know it. All of us know it, but we're just somehow unable to, speak up, talk about it, or work for it because it feels a little difficult or tough, maybe because we all fear being subjected to words like sympathy gainer or attention seekers or something like that, or maybe I don't know, or someone who craves sympathy, because see, we have kind of sort of mistreated the words, and that is why maybe people don't give enough value or love and care to the people who are actually suffering through it and going through it and is in need of help. The story is about mental health, as Ms. Radhika has already mentioned, and mental well-being of the teenagers and young adults. The story has a 19-year-old girl named Shruti, who, as the main protagonist, who has been dealing with anxiety issues and how the pandemic and this deadly virus affects her mental well-being and her life. So I'll just read 3 extracts, tiny extract, don't worry. Yeah. Negativity was everywhere, on television, social media, and deep down inside her head. He tried to comfort her by saying that she'll have to move on. But how could she move on from someone who was a part of her life? How? She was nauseous from crying, but she had to fill the void somehow. There was just one way out of this devouring sickness: to stop existing. She stood at the edge of her bedroom's half-fenced window, convincing herself that this had to be done for the sake of her sanity. Isn't it peculiar how an emotion can make you so helpless, and a tiny virus can destroy someone's life?
Yeah.
So the story talks about how hope still sways and lingers in some corner of your heart or your body and your soul, and how there's always a tiny beam of light at the end, even at the end of that, even at the end of that gloomy, dark, gloomy tunnel, which never seemed to end. And there's this one thing that I want the society to understand, that the mental health cannot be a joke. It shouldn't be a joke to you. It is super important. It has something to do with life and death. I want a society to not make a fuss about somebody having some kind of mental illness. You must understand that it is very much similar to that of getting all your limbs broken at once. We can see broken limbs, but we can't see broken minds. So maybe that is why we tend to not take it seriously.
So well put, Garima. Very good.
Yeah. And now I don't know who wants to hear this, who needs to hear this, but whatever happens, even if the world falls apart or anything happens, do not give up.
All of us need to hear this. All of us need to hear this.
Yeah. Yeah, we shouldn't. Please do not give up. If you want, take your time, rest, sleep, do whatever you want. Don't go out. Go out, but you can just wear a mask and walk safely. Do whatever you want. Look at the sky. It's so huge. You have a purpose. We all have a purpose in this world. We are sent here on the planet Earth because we have a work to do here. We cannot just give up and go away. This world cannot be better without you. Okay?
Garima, such beautiful. And my God, what grade are you in?
10th. I'm in 10th. 15 years old. I'm 15
wow.
years and 1 month old.
Wow. And you are wiser than most people who are ulta of like 51. So, no, seriously, I'm seriously telling you, you've written about a very important topic, and you are communicating that so beautifully. And I hope you keep writing, because when you think in such a mature way and you're so sorted, you must write. So I hope you do that. And thank you so much.
There's one thing that I want everybody to know, that everything in this world is interconnected. So whatever this sadness and this pain, whatever you are going through, it has some reason, and that reason is going to bring you joy, a lot of joy. So please, I beg you, please don't give up.
Thank you. Nobody will. I'm sure nobody will. I'm sure everybody. Yeah. And especially after listening to you, though, definitely not. So
I know.
Yeah. Really lovely. I'm so happy I got to meet you at least like this, because you're such a breath of fresh air. Lovely. Our next author, my God, and now I have to rush a bit, because not run. You guys take your time. I am just like, every time I talk to you guys, I want to just go like, wow. So which I can't do anymore. I have to make sure that we get done on time. But Sharvari, you are next. And your story was again, I loved how you left it open-ended. You left it for the reader to decide what was going to happen, how it was going to end. Did you do that purposely? Was that a choice? to keep the
So,
reader. Go ahead,
yeah,
go
so
ahead.
actually, I had decided the end and I had written it. But
Okay.
due to some suggestions, I also got that idea that because this book has many sad stories, and we have that purpose to give some hope. So that's why after some suggestions, so we came to that decision that ending would be open ended, so that there is also spark of hope. And also if you think about it, it's upon the reader that if
Yes,
you think you where the story leads you. So yeah, that's upon the reader.
I love that part because I think it depend it is if it's somebody like Garima, she will be like vaccine is found and it's all done, and then someone else might. So it's a lovely author trick to leave it like that. Would you like to read a little bit and then we'll chat a bit more? Would you like to read a bit? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to give a little introduction. So, hi, I am Shalvari Sanavni and the author of the story A Decade Later. A Decade Later is a story which is set in the future, the year 2030, when the pandemic still exists. This story basically focuses on socio-economical crisis during this pandemic, and it mainly throws light upon the protagonist of the story, whose name is Reem, because she has been through it. So I would like to read a piece from my story. Reem's mother, Jaya, sat by the window, hopelessly staring at a nearby apartment building, which was about half a kilometer away from their slum. Reem tried to guess where her mother's mind had traveled to, but to no success. Unable to hold her curiosity, she asked her mother what she was thinking about, and Jaya answered, still in deep thought. Reem, see that balcony on the 10th floor? That family. They look so happy. All of them chatting and laughing and enjoying, even during such times. They are not wrong in being happy. It just looks wrong when you see them from a tiny slum house like ours. Jaya continued to speak, but it all became a blur for Reem. She knew what her mother wanted to say, for she said it every day. The slum was never paid any attention to by the city authorities. And Reem lost her father to the dreaded disease when it struck the first time in the year 2020. She thought about the lavish medical and other support the rich got, and the ignorance which lay the fate of the poor. Time didn't change anything. It only became worse as a decade passed. However, Reem was very aware that the destiny of someone's health in this reality was dependent on whether you live in a slum or a balconied apartment of a high rise. Ahead in the story, Reem ends up in such a situation that leaves her shattered, a situation that crosses her path once again. What happened to Reem? And most importantly, how did it affect her? You would need to read the story to find out. Thank you.
It's superb. Very good job, Sharvari. I really, like I told you, I like the book because you've left it up to the
Thank
readers to
you.
decide. But let me ask you now that it's a few months since you've written the book,
Yes.
and so much is going on in the world of technology and research, especially.
Yes.
Do you still think 2030 the pandemic will be still here?
As like to see that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, so there is a hope. So if it's upon us, so this story also I also made the main theme as it's upon us. If we show kindness to people, if we help each other, and if we mainly follow the rules like wearing the mask and follow safety measures, then I think there is a spark of hope that the pandemic would end really soon rather than a decade later.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my thought on it.
Oh, so fantastic. Thank you so much, Harvari. Thank you. This was lovely. Uh, and you like to read a lot and write regularly?
Yeah, I just think about something and it just clicks my mind and I start writing, so the points automatically come to me. So whenever I think
Oh,
something different, so I start writing and
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how that.
that's fantastic. Keep writing. You're so good. Thank you so much for joining us. Our next author is Archita, right? Archita, where are you? I can't. Hi, Archita. So, you know what you've written, the existence mode is, I think, all of us right now, literally each and every one of us. So, so while reading you, I was going, I know exactly, I know exactly, and I have sons who are almost your age, and they don't hear me when I call out their name either, and they claim they're thinking about something very important. So, so tell us about your existence mode. What's going on?
So, well, I wrote the story in May, and
Okay.
that was like the height of like,
Yeah.
COVID for me. So I had finished my board exams and my 12th grade board exams. So, and I was just, waiting for my college to start, which started only in September. So I had like a 5 month gap of doing absolutely nothing. And since my friends were preparing for their own exams, etc., etc., I was pretty much left alone to my thoughts. I mean, obviously they would come online as much as they could, but then again they had to study, so there was
Right.
so then during that time I had to just like figure out how to keep myself entertained like at all times, because otherwise it just got like so boring. I tried so many things, like I described it in the story
Yeah.
as well, that I tried so many things to keep myself engaged, and after a point I just sort of like gave up. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to exist now.
So would you like to read a little bit from your piece? Yeah. Okay.
Sure. um But somewhere life was moving at such a fast pace that people no longer had time for each other. Everyone was absorbed in their own lives and own work, never stopping to enjoy life. Entire families sitting down together and having fun had become an ancient, outdated concept. This lockdown definitely brought that concept of family time back. After 2 years, I too sat with my family while we went through old pictures, and it brought me a different kind of joy. We laughed about the silly things my sister and I would do as toddlers. We found pictures my parents took of me while I was sleeping, crying, and at other embarrassing moments. I was actually amused by my absolute lack of knowledge on how to smile. In a number of pictures, my smile is basically just me displaying all of my teeth at once. This connection with our past selves would not have happened if there wasn't a lockdown. It helped us slow down, evaluate our lives, realize the impact humans have had on nature. I heard of so many places where the air cleared up due to such an extent that people could see the Himalayas from their homes, something they never thought possible.
Oh, lovely. And so you're off to college. You're off to Ann Arbor. So will you
Yeah.
be able to go for the spring semester, maybe? Hopefully.
I mean, I think I would be going for the winter semester, so that
Oh,
would
so in
be
January?
uh,
In January?
yeah, January. I have a fall and winter semester. So the fall semester I am completely remote, but the
Okay.
winter semester, hopefully I go.
Oh, lovely. It's such a beautiful campus, and existence mode in Ann Arbor, Michigan is going to be lovely. I can promise you that. So, so all the best to you, and I hope you'll keep writing. So,
Thank you.
yeah, because I definitely enjoyed your piece. Our next author, I would like to read a little bit of his writing, and then is that okay, Shan? I'll read a little bit of your, yeah, and then I we will talk to him. His essay is called The Pale Blue Dot. And after reading this essay, I think Ishan should be called Ishan the Science Kid. So, so I'm going to just read and I hope I'm clear. The Earth has faced numerous challenges in its lifespan of 4.5 billion years. When it was first formed, comets, asteroids, and meteors pelted it, and there was intense volcanic activity. As it evolved, there were more meteor strikes, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, volcanic eruptions, and so on. The COVID-19 coronavirus is yet another huge catastrophe. It has taken millions of lives. It has indirectly affected others by creating job loss and hunger and forced migrations. It has also shown starkly the inequalities in our society between the haves and the have nots and has crippled the world economy. But should we begin to lose hope? I will say no. Tens of thousands of scientists are working round the clock, round the globe, trying to figure out a cure for it. And I'm sure they will succeed. The same ingenuity and intellectual capacity that could figure the deepest secrets of our origins will surely find a way to save us from the virus. In the larger view, at the level of the universe, the virus is just a blip in space time. Our Earth and humanity will overcome this challenge. We will innovate, study, and create a cure for the virus. As we have understood a substantial amount about the universe, we can understand the biology of the coronavirus and get out of this situation. And while doing so, we have to remember to keep our humanness alive. Let's come together and save and cherish our home, the pale blue dot. So you're a Carl Sagan fan, obviously. I love this, and I think this was the best way to end this book, because on such a hopeful and a positive note. So, so since I've called you the science kid, Ishan, it looks like now like science and research is our only way out, right? So tell us why science, a scientific temper of a country or of this planet will get us out of this mess. What is it about science? Because in your piece you also write a lot about physics, which you obviously
Yeah.
love. Yeah. So tell us about that.
If you want to know how why science is important, you have to look at three aspects.
Okay.
So one of them is a past,
Hmm.
and what we have exactly done in the past is that we have answered so many questions about the universe
Hmm.
and the earth. Um, so if we um, gather knowledge about the universe, we can use that and for COVID, and we can overcome it.
Hmm.
And also, what this information does is that it gives us a larger perspective of things
Hmm.
about our place in the universe.
Yeah.
And um, and then the second one is about the present we are in,
Mm-hmm.
because with the help of science and some maths, we are able to track the disease,
Mm-hmm.
the number of people getting infected, the number dying, so that so we are getting the information about the virus now. So,
Mm-hmm.
and building up on that, we can pull through
Yeah.
this disaster.
Yeah.
And the other way science is important is to look at the future. Now,
Yeah.
now we have already done so many things to our planet that more disasters are imminent.
Yes.
Like, for example, in 2019, we can recognize that as a year in which climate change was stark.
Mm.
The Australian fires, then cyclone, then this year cyclone Amphan.
Yeah.
Um, so these disasters, now that we've already tipped the boundary of climate change, so many scientists are sure that more of these will occur, and
Yeah.
we can't reverse it. So, but but now we can use science to either adapt or to mitigate it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So
so
science is the savior. We need to believe in it, and yeah. I loved your piece because it ends so positively and gives us so much hope. And so I hope you continue your studies in environment and physics and all of that. And good luck to you. And I can't believe we spoke with all 12 authors. We are done. We are at the end of the book. Uh, but you guys, I mean, I can't get over how smart and articulate and at the same time how compassionate and kind you children are. Reading this book, I think every adult, children need to read this book absolutely, but adults need to read this book to learn something from you guys. I mean, it's incredible, and I must. Congratulate Sudeshna for thinking of this book and then getting 12 incredible writers to write and to edit and put a book together, which is so brilliant. And I think, like Bijal said, it needs to go in a time capsule because it is just that good. And like 2020, these 12 kids thought like this would be that time capsule. So it's just amazing. And I had the best time chatting with you guys. I feel like I know some of you, and I wish I get to meet so many of you. And who knows? Who knows? We just might. But keep writing, all of you. That's all I can say. You guys are brilliant. And Sudeshna, thank you. Cosy Nook
Thank you,
Library is
Radhika.
very, very honored and excited about this. Off to
We
you.
have a few questions, so they're not too many.
Okay.
So can we just take? I think we can take them all. There's just like 3 or 4.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Would you like to?
I'll just read them out.
Yeah. Please.
Yeah. So the first one is from Mridula Koshi to Shivani. She says, in the library to which you belong, we are always saying reading is thinking. Do you think writing is also thinking? So this question is specifically for Shivani.
हाँ
Shivani, yeah.
हाँ राइटिंग में उतनी ही थिंकिंग इन्वॉल्व है जितना हम पढ़ने पे होता है। दोनों ही चीज़ें कनेक्टेड है, राइटिंग और रीडिंग, क्योंकि मतलब जो ऑथर जो राइटर होता है वो बस यही होता है कि वो लिखने से पहले सोचता है, और जो रीडर होता है वो पढ़ने के बाद उस चीज़ पे सोचता है। तो बस यही होता है, वरना थिंकिंग दोनों की वही सेम होती है, सेम चीज़ों पे होती है।
Thank you, Shivani. You're such a wonderful speaker also, apart from being a reader and a writer.
Thank you, ma'am.
So it's a pleasure listening to you. The next question is from Harshika to Tisha. This is for Tisha. He says, they say dreaming is believing. Have you dreamt a world beyond the pandemic?
Okay, so I have just not really dreamt a world beyond the pandemic, but this is a difficult question.
What was your last dream? Was it completely absurd?
Yes.
Okay.
But
good. That's
yeah.
good. It's good to have absurd dreams.
So like I can't think of any specific answer for this.
Okay. Okay, that's great. But it's good to know that the dreams are back even for you.
Yes.
Harshika, then Mridula has asked, this is a question for Sophia. She says that I know Tolstoy is a favorite writer and you borrow his books from the library. Has his writings and ideas influenced your writing and thinking?
Well, I read Tolstoy's books, and I think that I like the way that he writes. So
yeah. It's wonderful to know that you read Tolstoy. I'm hoping to read more of Tolstoy. That was my lockdown promise to myself. Rahul has asked Tisha, in these COVID dark times, how come her story is so lighthearted? Tisha, another question for you.
So this I think is mainly because I normally read very light-hearted stories, not so much. So I am like that only, and yeah, and sitting at home, that was the only thing around me, and so yeah, so I was happy at home also and a little sad at home. So my story is just a merge of feelings where I was like really irritated why my school shut down and why I'm locked up at home. But at the same time, I was also happy because at least there was a communication between us and my teachers and friends. So, yeah.
Lovely. So your story actually reflected what you were thinking, and that's why I think that's how stories become really good, because when you're honest about it, then the honesty comes through. So, and that's there, I think, in all your writings. So that's why this book is so special. These are all the questions that we had, and there are many people who are congratulating all of you on the chat for your writings. Yeah, so I think Radhika, we are with
Well,
this. We can close if there's anything.
yeah, if I can talk to you as an editor and somebody who has inspired many people to write, what will be your one message to these 12 authors? How do they? Because I personally would love to, read one day maybe a book written by them that we can then put on Cosy Nook
Absolutely.
shelves.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what will you tell them?
I think the first thing that the main thing I think is being true to yourself and being letting your soul show in your writing, because everything else can be fixed, and if you have an editor, she can fix a lot of things. But if the actual core of your idea is strong and it's true and it's wise, um, then you can do anything. And that's how we chose these 12 pieces also.
So they just need to keep writing also.
They
I
just
keep
need to
saying
keep
that,
writing,
keep writing, keep writing.
keep writing and reading, of course. And I think
Yeah.
all of them are members of various libraries and they read, like what Shreya was saying. I was like thinking I don't read even so much. So.
Yeah. So I really am actually feeling quite sad that we have to say bye to all of you, and we've come to the end of our program. So thank you to all of you for writing and giving us this opportunity to read such lovely stuff. And once again, keep writing. You all managed to inspire old people like me, and you guys are just amazing. So keep writing, and thank you for being here and participating with all of us. And we will hopefully see you all soon, like this or in person. And really hope that we can read more of your stuff. Really looking forward to that more than anything. So I hope to do that. And on behalf of Cosy Nook Library and Talking Cub, right? Bye bye and thank you.
Please tell everyone about this wonderful book that you've been part of.
Yeah.
And do get a copy of the book. It's available in all the stores and online and the Speaking Tiger website.
Yeah. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you, Radhika.
Thank you.